All right, 3, 2, 1, and we live.
Hello, and welcome to our webinar, A Practical Guide to Disaggregated Networks. FNC and IP Infusion present Keys to Success. I'm Kelly LeBlanc, Chief Marketing and Product Officer at IP Infusion, based here at our headquarters in Santa Clara, California. Joining me today, I have two very special guests. I have Francois Moore from Fujitsu Network Communications. IP Infusion and Fujitsu have been strategic partners working together for several years in driving innovation in open networking. I also have William Graves from IP Infusion, and William has been working very closely with Fujitsu for our customer deployments. Here you can see our agenda for today. Our webinar runs for 45 minutes. We will start with introductions to our speaker guests, followed by an introduction to network disaggregation and open networking. Then Francois will share an overview of Fujitsu's end-to-end solution offering and its new lab in Germany, where our open networking solutions are on display. I will conduct a Q&A with Francois and William. And I also encourage everyone to ask questions during our webinar. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer the questions, reserving time to go through all the questions that you have. Now, I would like to ask my guests to introduce themselves. Francois, let's start with you. Please tell the audience about yourself and why you're qualified to speak about open networking.
So thank you, Kelly. First, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Francois Moore. I work for Fujitsu Network Communications based in Richardson, Texas. I've been in the optical industry pretty much all my life since 1990. And what I do at Fujitsu is I'm responsible for optical network strategy. And I work closely with our partners like IP Infusion. And I've been involved in open and disaggregated solutions probably for the last 6 or 7 years. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Francois. William, over to you. Please introduce yourself to the audience and share why you're qualified to speak about open networking.
Again, it's a pleasure to speak with the audience on this topic. I'm the technical solutions lead for IP Infusion, our partner Infusion channel. And I have extensive experience in networking that goes back into some of the OEM vendors. And basically, I've been using that to guide our open networking strategy with our partners. So from my perspective, the customer just wants the functionality to work as it worked before. Open networking being more of a new business model than a paradigm shift. And therefore, that experience that I've had in the past kind of helps us guide where we take the partners in the future. Working with FNC has been a pleasure to date.
All right, thank you, William. And we're pleased to have both of you with us today. So with that, we're going to get started. All right, so today we are speaking about a practical guide to disaggregated networks, which we also call open networking. And it starts by separating the software from the hardware to give customers greater flexibility and greater choice. So at IP Infusion, we do this with our Oknos network operating system. So as you can see, Oknos provides an alternative to incumbent vendors' proprietary systems. And the benefit of this is lower lead times, shorter lead times, lower cost, higher flexibility, as well as very simple licensing. On the other hand, you can see we compete against open networking vendors as well. And we have been winning in these accounts because of our legacy. We are proven with 25 years of experience deployed in the largest networks in the world. This gives a time and proven advantage to customers because we are very simple to deploy. We are easy to purchase and fully supported. So if we dive a little bit deeper into the Oknos advantage to open networking, we have a very comprehensive network operating system with support for over 600 modern networking features. We also support over 40 white box hardware platforms. with over 100 qualified optical transceivers. And earlier this year, we unveiled our IP Maestro management platform. So IP Maestro delivers a point-and-click GUI for simplified OCNOS management. And we make the life easy for customers by giving many choices for consumption. So we, of course, sell our software, or you can purchase the complete bundle from us, including the software, the hardware, and the optics all together with a single point of contact for 24/7 support and peace of mind. Now here you can see that it is the same OCNOS that provides end-to-end solutions for service providers and data centers. So we're offering complete network disaggregation with a single OCNOS for all of these use cases that you can see. It is a single SKU for each of these use cases, from access to aggregation to core networks and to data center. And our software scales from 32 gigabits per second all the way up to 51.2 terabits per second. We're also helping customers with their transitions from 100 gig to 400 gig and beyond. This includes our support for the 400 gig ZR/ZR Plus optics. So now what I will do is I will turn it over to Francois, where he'll give an update on Fujitsu's open and disaggregated portfolio, as well as how we're working together and more. So Francois, over to you.
Thank you, Kelly. So at Fujitsu, we're primarily known for our optical transport portfolio. We've been in the optical industry since the early. We've introduced several generations of DWDM equipment. And 5 years ago, we introduced our disaggregated product portfolio, which is the Onefinity product line. And Onefinity provides a complete offering of optical transport equipment that would be at the layer 0 ROADM, from our small L100 to L900. And we have also our own internally designed transponders and muxponders from 30 gigabaud to 150 gigabaud from the T300 to the T900. We also have a portfolio of pluggable transceivers, CFP2 DCOs, CFP2 ACOs, and as well, we're known for our level of service, our high quality services that we provide to our customers, which would be installation, 24/7 support, NOC services. But what we're doing is we're delighted to be in partnership with IP Infusion to bring the routing and the switching portfolio into our umbrella. If you notice on the left, we do not have any in-house design layer 3 type devices. And the fact that we adopted a disaggregated platform with Onefinity makes it a lot easier for us to bring partners like IP Infusion, who have a long-standing tradition of expertise in layer 3, and incorporate their products into our family, and we go to the customer with a complete offering from the layer 0 ROADM through our transponders and our services all the way to a layer 3 capability with IP Infusion. Next slide. So when you look at our reference network architecture on the left, we have access products portfolio where you could find a T300 transponder, for example, but that's where you'll find a lot of the IP Infusion devices, like a 28DX, for example, for cell tower backhaul, for carrier aggregation, for enterprise termination of services. And these devices connect to metro regional type infrastructure where you find the traditional ROADMs like at the L100, L130, which is the 9-port and 32-port ROADMs, which is really our our expertise, long-standing expertise as a company. In that metro regional network, you would find a mix of T300, T700, T900, which is Fujitsu organic transponders, coexisting with IP infusion devices with IP over DWDM, typically a 400 gig OpenZR plus, coexisting on the same rack, and essentially each technology providing individual wavelengths to the ROADM infrastructure. And this evolves into the long haul network where you find our T900 and L900 continuous C+L architecture. You would find probably a little less IP infusion devices there because the traffic has largely been aggregated in the metro and regional space. But as you can see here, you can go from access to long haul with combinations of disaggregated solutions coming from Fujitsu and IP Infusion to provide both organic high-performance transponders as well as IP over DWDM. Now, more importantly, all of this is managed by a single controller. And this is where it really bring forward the differentiation that's offered here with this partnership, is that Fujitsu has a controller solution called Virtuora, and Virtuora in this case manages not only the Fujitsu products, ROADM and transponders, but it also integrates the management of the IP infusion device. So for a customer who deploys a network similar to this architecture, there's a single controller, the Fujitsu controller, which completely controls the layer 3 IP infusion device all the way down to the ROADM photonic layer as a single pane of glass, and from a customer point of view, it looks like a single solution. One example of a use case where both companies work together and achieve success is there was a customer that was looking for a solution to evolve their existing network. And what they were looking for was a DWDM layer with ROADM technology, a controller, and IP over DWDM delivered to us as a turnkey solution with all installation, commissioning, delivered to them. I mean, we're talking about a customer here that didn't have all the internal engineering resources to do it themselves. And this is really an example of where the partnership between Fujitsu and IP Infusion makes sense. The solution in the end was to package our ROADM products, in this case the L100, with the OCNOS devices, the 28DC and the 56DX, coupled with some 400G ZR Plus pluggables, and all the Fujitsu fulfillment, installation, provisioning, test, and turn-up services, and deliver to that customer that complete solution end-to-end in a very short delivery cycle. And all of the critical pieces were coming from one supplier that really acted as an integrator, which is Fujitsu. Essentially, the best of breed technology from the optical perspective was coming from us with the ROADM and also the services that we're known for. And the layer 3 IP infusion was really critical and instrumental in securing this win. And it's really the best of both worlds getting together to provide a single solution for the customer. Kelly, back to you. Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you for the summary of our solutions together. And now I would like to welcome you to share your big announcement.
Yes. So last week, we opened our Networking Innovation Center in Düsseldorf, Germany. It is officially open. We have all our equipment on display there, including the IP Infusion portfolio. We have an instance of Virtuora, our controller, running at that location. And this physical location is going to be used to invite customers to come and visit, see our product portfolio of equipment, but more importantly also, it can be used as a testing facility, as a integration and interoperability testing center. So we have space in those racks for customers to bring in their own equipment that they would like to test for either interoperability or proof of concept. And this is specifically targeted for our European customers. We already have a center like this in North America. It's the ATSC in Richardson, Texas. But now we're more than happy to announce that we officially opened the one in Düsseldorf, Germany. And for any listeners that are based in Europe, you have the opportunity to witness there all our portfolio from the L series to the T series to the S series of Winfinity, the Virtuora controller, as well as the IP Infusion OCNOS Layer 3 products.
This is fantastic. Congratulations on the new Open Networking Innovation Center, Francois. I can tell from the photos that you had a nice unveiling with also a bit of fun. So,
yes.
All right, fantastic. So Francois, thank you for the overview on your solutions as well as your big announcement for the new Innovation Center. So this is the time where I would like to start our Q&A. So I'm going to start the open discussion with Francois and William. And as a reminder, please enter your questions in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll answer your questions as well. So what I'd like to do right now is to dig a little deeper on the topics that we have been discussing about open networking. Starting with Francois, I'd really like to discuss a little bit more to understand Fujitsu's perspective on open networking. So let's start with, so Francois, why did you get into open networking?
Well, today's network platforms are complex, and they were up to recently tightly coupled, proprietary, and vertically integrated. We moved toward an open networking architecture to gain greater flexibility. And this allows faster innovation, faster deployment, simplified operation, and it also increases competition by allowing a wider range of vendors and technologies within for deployment. Our vision here is to combine the power of the Winfinity optical networking system with the IP Infusion OCNOS to provide a complete end-to-end solution from layer 0 to layer 3 for the customer. And we can clearly see the benefit of the openness and the disaggregated architecture here, because it's a lot easier to integrate best-of-breed solutions like we have here if they're not tied to a monolithic chassis. And essentially, open networking aims to provide and facilitate that flexibility of integration to provide more choice and agility for the network providers.
Oh, very good. So in fact, I'd like to get William's take on this too. So, Francois has been talking a lot about the advantage of working together for open networking. And William, what's your take as you've been very closely working with Fujitsu on this journey? What do you see as Fujitsu's advantage with open networking versus the legacy solution?
I think the big thing they bring is the ecosystem. If we think of solving a problem for a customer, do we have everything in our portfolio to solve that problem, or do we link that up with other pieces, other open networking ecosystem pieces in order to solve those applications? Fujitsu allows us to work work with them to deliver what I would call your true end-to-end solutions, whether that be the work that we're doing with IP over DWDM today, or some of our work that we're doing behind the scenes that involve the open RAN market. We're able to compete in these markets where people are looking for these sort of turnkey end-to-end solutions that basically kind of are sort of the build, operate, and transfer type model that we as a small company could never support on our own, but combined with our system integration partners of FNC, we can deliver on those things. And I believe that system integration capability they bring to the table, we're going to see more and more, because most of the providers don't have the resources to do all of this end-to-end work. There are a few, but most don't. And they're going to want to lean on these system integrators in order to deliver these systems these updates into their networks.
Yes, very good. So yeah, ecosystem play, systems integration, of course, is one of the first and always questions that we receive whenever we speak with customers. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper on the partnership. So Francois, from your perspective, let's talk about your relationship with IP Infusion. Why did you decide to work with us?
Well, we were looking for experts in layer 2 and layer 3 technology to complement our existing organic packet optical offering in order to build a complete end-to-end solution. And the Ocnos portfolio provides economical capability and scaling that aligns well with our packet optical offering that we had, mostly ROADM and transponders. And the combination of these two portfolios together really, for us, made sense from a size, from a cost, and from the scalability and flexibility that's required in a disaggregated portfolio.
Okay, very good. So William, back to you. When we're working together, ensuring a smooth transition to a new paradigm or a new model is always of utmost importance. So how have you been ensuring the smooth transition for the customers migrating from the legacy networks to open networking?
One of the benefits of working with FNC is they take a product-oriented approach. So basically, they were sort of creating, I'll call it validated designs, if you will, to make the transition with their customers. Remember, as a customer adopts open networking, there's still routers, there's still switches, there's still the need to potentially interoperate with other vendors from the incumbent side. So it's more of solving the problem of how do I integrate my technology into an existing network? Because most of these are going to be brownfield networks. And from what we've been able to do is that in addition to having sort of a strategic approach with FNC, we also are able to integrate our Virtura into this mix. So now we basically sort of have the end-to-end solution, if you will, for delivering things that we couldn't do on our own. The relationship with Fujitsu is very much a driven process. So it's kind of like sort of a product within a product, if you will. So we have sort of a strategy as to where we're trying to go as we move forward.
All right. Very, very good. So, with all of this, this is a very competitive market. And what we've been building together is what we believe is an extremely competitive solution. So from Francois, from your perspective, what do you believe makes your offer so competitive?
Well, first of all, it's cost effective. I mean, it's cost effective capacity scaling. We provide an intuitive, sustainable, and open architecture. But where we really shine is two things: the Virtua Network Controller. What we do is we took our controller and we extended it to support the layer 3 capabilities that are provided by the IP Infusion products. So from a customer point of view, to get a single controller, the integration is already performed for them. And integration also means testing and certification And all of the solution that's delivered is pre-tested, pre-integrated, cost-effective, and it provides a powerful solution for deliveries from 1 gig to 400 gig today and 800 gig next year from a packet perspective. The other item also that makes us competitive is our services. Fujitsu has always been recognized to provide superior services for customers, and that includes design, delivery, test and turn up, commissioning, and even knock services in some cases. And what it does is for a customer that doesn't have all the resources to do the engineering themselves, that is invaluable because they can get a disaggregated solution that's all integrated, reintegrated for them, and certified and guaranteed by a single delivery company, by a single supplier.
And Francois, your comments about Virtuora, we are getting some good questions from the audience about this. So I think what we'll do right now is take a couple of the audience questions as we're working through this. So we've had one question is and William, please chime in as well. We've had a question to describe the respective role of Virtuora and IP Maestro in operating a packet optical network. How do they complement each other? How do they differ? How can they be deployed simultaneously on the same network?
So I think if you really look at it, you're looking at it in terms of what is the solution that you need to deliver. Where we need to deliver a solution that's going to have the combined portfolio of FNC as well as IP Infusion, then Virtual Network Controller provides the overarching integration for both. So you don't need two different systems. One system does it all. Whereas our IP Maestro from IP Infusion is more focused on single IP Infusion deployments only. So typically, if you're going to use the Virtual Network Controller, you would not be using IPMA. And if you're going to use, you have the option of just deploying IPMA just for an IP Infusion only based solution. And I believe that's the way, that'd be the best way to look at it. Remember, it's about solving the problem, not so much about what components are there.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
and I agree with that. If as a customer you're deploying, let's take an example, some IP Infusion devices inside of a data center where there's no ROADM, there's no inter-office DWDM infrastructure, then IP Maestro is perfectly adequate. Where the Virtuora integration comes in is the ability to deploy the IP Infusion devices in the context of a DWDM network with a ROADM underlay and potentially some native transponders for the specialized optical services. In that case, actually using the virtual integration is the right approach because it avoids having to use both IP Maestro and Virtuora side by side and do what's typically known as a swivel chair. We eliminate the swivel chair by using Virtuora.
Thank you, Francois. There's one more question on this. I think it goes nicely in closing out this section. So is Virtuora already fully integrated with the IP Infusion switches?
The answer is yes. I mean, we provided this integration. This integration is completed. We're delivering it to customers, like the use case that I was discussing earlier. So the answer is yes.
Well, sounds like you're doing everything to make it very easy for customers. And it's, with the Virtuora, this is definitely an example of that.
And to add to that, Kelly, we have roadmaps for additional integration as we move forward. So, this is the beauty of working with FNC is that we kind of have the combination of what we'll call a sort of a transactional opportunity system integrator, along with an overall product strategy or solution strategy based approach, all into one particular partner. And I think there's a real advantage in taking that approach.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so let's deep dive a little bit more into addressing concerns and objections. So anytime there's a new way of doing things, there's always lessons learned, topics to avoid, things that absolutely must be done. So William, I'd like to get your take. So what are the primary concerns and objections that customers have expressed to you? And what have we been doing working together to address them? Just to give the audience, a little bit of color on how to make the journey smooth.
Well, let's take it from the simplest approach, right? Whether we're open or not, we're not the vendor in the network. We're not the incumbent. So anytime you add a new vendor to a network, there's always the whole operational aspect. There's the migration aspect. There's all of those things that usually come with adding a new vendor. So from our perspective, a lot of that we've addressed from our history of IPI, our ability to show that we have been able to integrate and interoperate with other incumbent vendors. But to add to that, we get to leverage the professional services portion of FNC to come in and help do the design, the engineering, the planning, et cetera, and so forth of the whole thing, along with migration services. And that's what a lot of it ends up being. People want to come into the lab and show that we can deliver the service and meet their requirements the way they've done it with their incumbent vendor. And there's the very large ATSC, which we've taken advantage of in the US. This is the largest partner location we have with as many as with 50 nodes plus of out-and-house equipment, allows us to create very complex portfolios and show that from a demonstration perspective that we can not only meet those requirements, but we can even, in some cases, interoperate with what they already have. And that really kind of makes things a lot easier, add some professional services to help with the normal migration services, as well as the operational integration of a new product. And that system integration aspect of FNC is really what makes this thing.
In fact, your comments are inspiring a lot of questions about support. So this seems to be a key topic. We know it is in all of our discussions with customers as well, but let's see if we can help the audience in real time. So we have just gotten one. So for support, do we have to communicate with both vendors? How is the support provided?
So maybe I can address this one. The goal here is for Fujitsu to be the sole point of contact with the end customer. So when we sell an integrated solution with IP Infusion and Fujitsu, essentially Fujitsu provides the solution, so we're responsible for the design, the delivery, any services that's purchased with it, and all the warranty, the product support calls, the return management for repair. All of this is done via Fujitsu. So from a customer point of view, they call Fujitsu. We're the one supplier of the end-to-end solution. Now, internally here, I mean, if it's a support call, we'll bring in IP Infusion from their 24/7 center as needed to for product support escalations. But the front, the window into the supplier is through Fujitsu.
Right, very good. And in fact, more coming in on this, and it's regarding the ZR Plus transceivers. So is it just the Fujitsu ZR Plus transceivers that are supported? Or is there anything else that is supported here?
We support
It's not. Oh,
Please.
go ahead,
we
William.
support a wide variety of transceivers ourselves. I believe the first set of transceivers we did with Fujitsu were not Fujitsu transceivers. So as Kelly, as you know, you presented on our ZR Plus strategy, which is very broad from a vendor perspective.
And I concur with that. It's not just Fujitsu transceivers.
All right, good. These are excellent questions. So audience, thank you. Keep them coming. We're happy to answer your questions. We're still getting more. Let's go through these. So there's a question about the roadmap for 400 gig and 800 gig switches. So
Well, we're there on 400 gig. 800 gig, I guess, is sort of what's in the pipeline.
right. Yeah, so for of course we have a full roadmap for 800 gig support. And so of course we share this information with customers as well as part of our roadmap discussions. All right. So I'm getting more questions. Okay, we're getting some good questions about what do we see to be the future with all of this? I love this question. So what do you see will be the future of open networking, and how will it evolve, and what will be the role of IP Infusion and Fujitsu working together?
So
I'll let you go first.
yeah, so I think as the disaggregated solutions mature, you know, there will be almost like a catalog of integrated and verified solution that will be available on the market. I mean, that portfolio of solutions keeps increasing with the addition of new disaggregated platforms, like, for example, 800 gig routers will be coming next year. I think the key here is that there will always be room for an integration vendor. One of the thing that was a large concern at the beginning of this open networking initiative was, who does the integration? Who certifies the solution? For example, at TIP 2 years ago, it was a major topic. Everyone was talking about the role of an integrator. I think the integration cannot come from the customer because it does not scale. And the second thing is, many customers don't have the resources to do it. So I think as we move forward and open disaggregated solution becomes more the norm, it's going to be increasingly critical to keep system integration or integration vendors like what we're doing with Virtuora, our own portfolio, and IP Infusion, to play an active role and be a central part of the delivery of these disaggregated solutions. Because in a sense, someone has to put it back together from the disaggregated into an integrated solution that's delivered to the customer. The customers do not and cannot sustain the burden of doing the integration themselves.
Yes, as we were together at the TIP conference in Dublin most recently, I can confirm this was a major topic at the show. I did host a panel on this as well. And so system integration is one of the key questions that comes up in every single opportunity that we have. You know, how am I going to be supported? Who's going to do the integration? How will it be made easy? Similar to how we've been deploying in our past. All right, very good, Francois. And
but
William,
I think when you look at TIP 2 years ago, there was a lot of questions and a lot of unknowns. Now, if we look at the latest TIP conference that was in Dublin, it seems to me that the answers are starting to come in. You have some suppliers that have stepped to the plate. Fujitsu is one of them, to provide, to solve that integration testing and certification challenge.
yes. Yeah, you can definitely feel the energy changing, especially at the latest conference. And I wanted to give William an opportunity to respond on his view about the future of open networking as well.
Well, I have to concur with my esteemed colleague, Francois, that this integration aspect is really key. And I think one of the advantages IPI brings to the market is that we're pre-integrating, if you will, the routing and switching subsystems, so that we're not making FNC do that integration as well. They pick up a product from us that, I don't want to say looks and smells like an incumbent vendor, but yeah, we take the scary out of putting the routing and switching, the white box and the NOS together. We take that away. We provide a already working subsystem. So now we're creating our subsystem plus their other subsystems together as a typical system integrator would work. I think for us, we're just scratching the surface of this partnership. It started off primarily, more so from a IP over DWDM perspective, and now I think O-RAN will probably be our next area where we move forward. And I look forward to continuing the work with FNC to do even more applications, maybe private 5G, other types of things that come to mind. We've had conversations around our data center portfolio, so the sky is the limit for what we can potentially put together ourselves.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, and in fact, with this discussion, so we're getting questions, in fact, more questions about current features, future features. So I think one of the questions we are getting about is capabilities for SR-MPLS and SRv6. So William, perhaps you want to take this one.
Well, for SR-MPLS, as you well know, we've delivered a number of systems around the world already to support SR-MPLS. That is what we have integrated as one of the primary overlays with our IP over DWDM solution. SRv6 is obviously on our roadmap as we move forward, and that would be sort of a roadmap discussion, but it is sort of the next step. And I even think that some SR-MPLS on an IPv6 control plane, IPv6 underlay could also be in our future. This tends to be driven by where the customers want to go and what's required for the marketplace. But today, our work with FNC at the IP over DWDM level definitely leverages the SR-MPLS stack.
Yes, I know we have several successful deployments that we've been working on. So just making sure we cover all of that topic. So with these SR-MPLS use cases and this success, is there anything else you can share with the audience, William, on lessons learned specifically on this topic?
I think from our perspective, we've gone through quite a bit of work integrating with Virtuora. We worked through to make sure that our Yang models are consistent across the board, which is a real key aspect of what it takes to integrate not only with Virtuora, but let's say you have a large customer with their own controller, we'd have to be able to do that integration as well. So that's very helpful there. I think we learned a lot about how we want to bring this technology together in the marketplace, how it needs to scale, what the operational requirements are for our larger customers, not so much the customers, our traditional base, which has been some of the smaller customers. As the larger customers adopt it, we have to pick up the pace and understand that operational environment, which is very key. One of the benefits that FNC brings is their long-term relationships working with these larger providers. So they've been able to help us understand those expectations up front. We've addressed them in our own internal integration and acceptance testing that we do between one another. So that becomes something that the customers never see. And we try to bring the most solid and most ready to deploy product to put in front of those customers because they tend to be a little bit more demanding than our traditional customer base.
All right. Thank you, William. Thanks for that. And we have time for one more question. And I like this final question. The question is, will Fujitsu's lab also have the demo for the IP over DWDM solutions? Over to you, Francois.
Absolutely. I presume here the question was targeted towards the Dusseldorf lab. Yes, I was there last week, actually. We have the L100 already installed. We have an IP Infusion device installed. We absolutely have the capability of adding a 400 ZR Plus to the IP Infusion device and connecting it to a port of our ROADM to transport it across the DWDM network. Yes, that will absolutely be one of the things customers will be able to see.
All right, and so the question is, who can we contact to visit the Dusseldorf lab?
We have a sales team. We have one individual in Germany. We have 3 sales personnel that are based in the UK. I'm not going to put their email address on
Well,
the webinar here, but the thing is, if one of the listener is interested, he can reach out to us, and we'll put them in. We'll put him or her in touch with the right people.
all right. Excellent. Well, I hope we get lots of nice visitors in the Dusseldorf lab. And with that, we are out of questions and perfectly out of time. So I will now like to thank our audience for all of the great questions. So this has been a very interactive discussion, very good question and answer session. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to Francois and for William for joining me today on this webinar. So we are now out of time, but until next time, thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.